Hey guys, Super Dave here. What I'd like to talk about in this video is you need to be careful out there. I've had a career that has spanned over 30 years. I've dealt with a lot of contractors, a lot of realtors, a lot of bankers, and there's a lot of relationships out there, and you need to be careful. I'm going to tell you a couple stories of things that happened to me personally that should make you aware to be careful, to slow things down, and not to trust everybody, and make sure you're working with the right people. One example is, I was working with a contractor, and he told me, if you go out and find the land, I'll build the house, we'll become business partners, we'll build a spec house and sell it, and make a profit. Well, that all sounded good. I went out and found the land, and he built the house. Well, come to find out, he wasn't honest with me. I went back after the deal and realized he overcharged me for several items. I talked to the actual vendors, and I had ran into somebody who was not being honest with me. And you have to be careful. You have to verify. You have to double check. You can't just trust anybody. And it seems to me the guys that say, hey, you can trust me, hey, I'm a good guy, should make you put up a red flag. So what I'm saying here in this video is be careful out there. Here's another story. I decided to build a 5-bedroom modular home in my town. So I bought the land and I hired a contractor and we went down that road. We cut out the lot, we started to put the foundation in, and somebody in my town came up to me and said, I'm not sure about that guy. I heard he's not very ethical. You need to be careful. So I decided to double check him. And what happened was that afternoon, the concrete truck had poured all the concrete down in the footers and was driving away. And I looked at him and I said, hey, you already have a draw from me. I've already given you money to pay for the concrete. Has that guy been paid who just dropped off the concrete? He said, oh yeah, he's been paid. Don't worry about it. Well, I went back to my car. I called the concrete company, and sure enough, they had not been paid. So I was giving him money, he was lying to me, and he was keeping my money. So luckily, I caught him in an early stage of the deal. So I sat him down, and I had to let him go, and I hired a new contractor. And when you're dealing with general contractors, you need an estimate. You need to know what it's going to cost to build this property. And I recommend you get everything in writing. You get a contract. And what you need in this contract is, how much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take to complete the project? And more importantly, it needs to be itemized line by line. You need to know the labor. You need to know the materials. You need to have it as detailed as possible. So make sure when you meet with a general contractor that he writes a good estimate that's full of detail. And if he doesn't, make him go back and do it right or pick another contractor. So what I'm trying to teach you here is you need to be careful. You need to verify. You need to have paperwork. You need to have contracts. Things are not done on a handshake. Things are not done on people's word unless you build a long, trusting relationship with somebody. And here's my last example. I ran into this kid and I called him the whiz kid. I was fascinated by this guy. He had flipped close to 100 houses in 1 year in a big city close to my town. And I thought, wow, this guy is younger than me. He's more successful than me. I'm going to hook myself to him and make him one of my business partners. So that's what I did. I went down that road and we decided to start doing business together. We found a house, our first house, and we put it under contract. We wrote checks for the earnest money deposit to get the deal started, to put the house under contract. Come to find out, he wrote a check that was a bad check that bounced. I don't know what his thoughts were, but here I am partnering up with an unethical person. I couldn't believe it. It's the first time in 30 years I have ever lost money on a deal, was that one earnest money check. Because I got into bed with the wrong person. So what I'm trying to teach you here, be careful, especially if you decide to go into a business relationship with somebody. Make sure you have your paperwork in line and make sure you research somebody. Honestly, the whiz kid, I had an attorney research his background. and look into his history. Come to find out, he was a bad dude. He was not a good guy. He had been sued. He had all kinds of legal problems. And here's a guy I was getting ready to do a house with and be his 50% business partner. Well, I've only had a few mistakes like that in my life. I've been very careful to avoid trouble, but this is a way to avoid risk and avoid getting yourself into trouble if you slow everything down, research people, be careful, and take your time. Thanks guys, I really appreciate your time. It's another video from Super Dave. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, smash the thumbs up button, and I'll talk to you soon.